You know, what if I told you that almost everything we've been taught about company culture is, well, not quite right? That it's got nothing to do with mission statements on the wall or the free snacks in the kitchen. Today, we're going to pop the hood and look at the hidden engine that actually drives your organization, from the smallest little interactions to the absolute biggest decisions.
So let's just jump right into this. We have this tendency to think about culture as something static, right? Like a blueprint for a building, etched in stone and hung up in the lobby. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it entirely? What if culture isn't a fixed plan at all, but something much more alive? Like a dynamic, never-ending conversation that you, yes you, are a part of, every single day.
Now, to really get our heads around this new dynamic idea, we first have to understand the classic model. This is the foundation, the theory that has shaped how leaders and managers have thought about culture for decades.
So the traditional way of seeing culture really comes from a researcher named Edgar Schein, and he came up with this brilliant metaphor. He saw culture as an iceberg, where most of its mass and its real power is totally hidden beneath the surface, completely unseen.
So, right at the top, at the tip of the iceberg, you've got the visible stuff, the artifacts, the dress code, the office furniture, the company logo. Then, just below the water, you have the espoused values. This is what the company says it believes in. But according to Schein, the real action, the real power, lies way down at the bottom, in the basic assumptions. These are the unconscious, taken-for-granted beliefs, but are secretly running the whole show.
Okay, but here's the catch with that model. It's kind of like a museum exhibit, right? It's great for categorizing things and putting them in neat little boxes, but it totally misses the action. It doesn't explain how culture is constantly being made and unmade in the messy reality of daily work. So, what's missing? Well, this brings us to a huge paradigm shift from another researcher, Mary Jo Hatch. She argued that we should stop looking at the static parts of culture and start focusing on the living, breathing processes that connect them all. For her, culture isn't a pyramid. It's a constantly turning engine.
And this right here is that engine, the cultural dynamics model. It reframes culture as this continuous loop of 4 key processes, and it adds a brand new, absolutely crucial element to the mix: symbols. This is the machinery we need to understand if we want to see how culture really works.
So how does this culture engine actually run? Well, it's powered by 4 interconnected processes that are constantly feeding into one another. They create this loop that can powerfully reinforce the way things are, or, and this is key, if you intervene in just the right way, it can create some really meaningful change. Okay, so the whole cycle kicks off with manifestation. This is that moment where those deep, unspoken, basic assumptions, the ones at the bottom of Schein's iceberg, start to bubble up to the surface. They become conscious, stated values. It's basically where the way things are around here starts to become the way things ought to be. For example, as Schein himself pointed out, if a core, unspoken assumption in a company is that people are fundamentally opportunistic and just can't be trusted, well, a very specific value is going to manifest from that: the need for strong control and constant oversight. Next step in the cycle is realization. You see, a value is just an idea until you make it real. This is the process where those values get turned into tangible things that you can actually see, touch, and interact with. It's where the abstract becomes concrete. So let's follow our example. That value for strong control doesn't just float around in the air. It gets realized as physical artifacts. Time clocks are installed at the door, managers start demanding daily productivity reports, and maybe the office gets designed as a wide-open space where everyone is always visible. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. An artifact isn't just an object. It becomes a powerful symbol when we start layering extra meaning onto it. A time clock stops being just a machine for telling time. It starts to stand for something much bigger, something like trust, or more likely, the lack of it. So in our culture of control, an employee who's just sitting quietly staring at their screen isn't just seen as a person thinking. No way. They become a potent symbol of a loafer or a shirker, someone who is proving that the original assumption about people being untrustworthy was right all along.
And that brings us to the final step, interpretation. We see that symbol, the so-called loafer, and we make sense of it. And this act of interpretation is what closes the loop, because it feeds directly back into the core beliefs that started this whole cycle in the first place.
So here's the crucial part. When a manager sees that person and interprets their behavior as loafing, it actively reinforces the original assumption that people can't be trusted. See how that works? The belief created the artifact. The artifact became a symbol, and our interpretation of that symbol proved the original belief was correct. The engine has completed one full turn, and now it's ready to spin again, only this time it's even stronger.
So what, right? Why does shifting from a static pyramid to a dynamic engine actually matter to you, whether you're a CEO, a team lead, or an employee? Well, honestly, it changes everything.
It completely changes the goal. You stop being an architect trying to design some perfect finished building. Instead, you become an active participant in a living, breathing, and constantly evolving conversation. Your job isn't to build it. Your job is to understand the conversation and influence where it goes next.
So what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean for you? Well, it means realizing that culture isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's something you do every single day. It means recognizing that everyone, and I mean everyone, is a culture creator, from the CEO down to the brand new intern. It means you've got to pay attention to the small things, that casual comment, that daily report, because they can become incredibly powerful symbols. And maybe most importantly, it means that if you really want to change the culture, changing the posters on the wall is totally useless. You have to get in there and intervene in the engine itself.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. This cultural engine is always running in your organization. You can't turn it off. The only real question is, now that you can see the machinery, what part will you choose to play in that conversation tomorrow? Thanks for joining us.